For more on the war in Ukraine, let's bring in Marcus Moore, who's in Lviv right now. Marcus, Russia appears to be shifting its offensive with some of the worst bombardments we've seen up until now in the southern port city of Mariupol. So what can you tell us about what's happening there?
Well, Diane, we know that is where the fighting is expected to intensify in that region. Russia pulling away from Kiev and other parts of the country and appearing to focus its manpower and also its military hardware and power on that region, trying to control that part of the country. Observers say for a couple of reasons. One, that strategically they could use that area to then march farther towards the west if they can find success in capturing Mariupol and the other cities and towns in that part of the country. But they also, Diane, there's some sense that they need a victory, and that perhaps Vladimir Putin believes that his best chance for victory in this conflict is there in Mariupol, something that observers and the West say that he hopes to do by May 9th.
Now, we also know that Russia is inching closer to that eastern region of Ukraine. What's the strategy there?
So the strategy, as we have mentioned before, is that Russia is wanting to focus on that part of the country because there is the potential for success there. And as you know, Russia has been fighting in that area with Ukraine since 2014 and certainly has a strong presence in the region and wants to strengthen that stronghold there as they try to find success in this latest conflict, again, hoping to find success on the battlefield. And we know, according to the Ukrainians, that they are trying to hold on. They've been in a defensive position, defensive posture there as they face an onslaught from the Russians. It is an onslaught that is expected to come again in the coming days as the Russians move more artillery and more of their manpower to that region.
And experts from the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe determined in a new report that Russia broke international humanitarian law by targeting civilians. What's the significance of this report, and what are their specific findings here?
Well, Diane, the significance of this report is it is really the first assessment of the potential for war crimes having been committed in this conflict and Russia's war against Ukraine. And so it is a legal kind of groundwork that seems to be being laid right now as these claims of war crimes continue to come out. And in fact, the report says, quote, that there were clear patterns of war crimes and violations of international humanitarian law by Russian forces in this conflict. And they have looked at everything. Many of the events that have occurred between March and April, including some of the reporting that we have done in Mariupol, where there were people who had gathered in a theater, if you recall, Ukrainians who were there in a basement for safety. That theater was attacked. Also, the children's hospital that we have seen those horrific images, an airstrike hitting that hospital. Those are some of the incidents that this board looked at and said that war crimes were indeed committed. And in addition to that, there have been reports that Russian forces have tortured Ukrainian prisoners, soldiers who have been taken captive. And something else from this report that's interesting is that it highlights war crimes, they say, on both sides, both on the part of the Russians and the Ukrainians. But the report also says that the violations committed by the Russian Federation, however, are far larger in nature and in scale. And Diane, it is important to point out that this report from the OSCE does not include the horrific scene that our James Longman and teams have witnessed in Bucha, the suburb of Kiev, where people were found in shallow graves and in the middle of the street and who had apparently been executed.
And Marcus, the Polish border guard is reporting that over the weekend, the number of refugees voluntarily returning to Ukraine hit its highest point for a single day since the war started. So why are these people heading home now, and how risky is that?
Well, they're heading home, Diane, because they want to get home. They would rather be here in Ukraine than far away, even though many of them don't know what will happen next. And here in Lviv, this is a place that has become a safe haven for a number of Ukrainians, and there are people who evacuated this city fearing that the conflict would include Lviv and that it would perhaps be overrun by Russians. That did not happen, and so a lot of those people have returned to this city and others in the West, including Kiev, which was on one of the targets for the Russians that they had hoped to take that city. That did not happen. So there is a sense that a number of people are ready to get back home and get back to their normal lives, if indeed such a thing is possible, as this war rages on.
All right, Marcus Moore in Lviv, Ukraine for us. Marcus, stay safe. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.